Oh, hi there, and welcome to the order of Monday morning. I hope you had a good weekend. Uh, it was very, very, very pleasant here in Sacramento. Got up to 77 yesterday, and the sun was nice and shiny. A perfect day for our 58th wedding anniversary, which we spent relatively quietly, and had a wonderful time and got a beautiful call from our son, uh, who's in Macau, China. So we talked with him for quite a while. And anyway, here we are on Monday in the order of Monday morning. And Monday is also Monday night magic class here at the house. And we're we're trying something, sort of an hors d'oeuvre to the seven-course meal that is the Rites of Eleusis, Crowley's Rites of Eleusis, uh, which aren't the Greek rites of Eleusis, but something else, and I'll go into that in just a moment. But we're going to read through the some of the introductory material tonight and discuss it because it's actually a lot of fun to mount. I like that word, to mount the rites of Eleusis or Eleusis, uh, and actually stage them. And what we're going to do tonight, we're going to read through, okay, divvy out parts and read through and sort of block out and recite the wonderful, wonderful poetry. I don't think there'll be too much room to dance here in the living room. And dancing is kind of a big part of the theatrical performance of the Rites of Eleusis, uh, and music. But they are absolutely wonderful, and they've been done in the United States since 1980. They started with Lady Chandria up here in the Berkeley area in 1980, and then she encouraged. She did it with the rite of Saturn. That's the first one, and she talked Grady McMurtry, Caliph Hymenaeus Alpha, into playing the role of Saturn up here in the Berkeley performance of Saturn, and she persuaded Constance and I and the members of Haru Raha Lodge down in Newport Beach, persuaded us to do the next rite, the rite of Jupiter. And after that, and that was either late 1980 or early 1981. And so we did it. We did a rite of Jupiter in our living room in Costa Mesa, Newport Beach. And Grady came down as Saturn, because Jupiter begins where Saturn ends. And from then on, we did all the rites throughout the year, for many years in a row. Okay, and soon thereafter, 93 Lodge down in San Juan Capistrano. I did some of them. Southern California did the entire series many years in running, and we printed out full script booklets here. This is the Rite of Saturn, and this one was considerably later when we got this fancy. This by then, I think we printed this up for the rites we did in 1988. But anyway, in 1990, now the rites were first performed at Caxton Hall in London in 1910. So 80 years later, with the help of the British OTO and the magnificent folks at the Atlantis Bookshop, mounted at Conway Hall at Red Lion Square in London, the Rites of Eleusis, the entire series over a period of time, October 11th, October 19th, October 26th, November 2nd, November 7th, November 23rd, and November 30th, 1990. They did them all. They did them upright, okay? Not that we don't do them upright here. And for this memorable edition, of course, printed up by the good folks at the Atlantis, I'm going to read you just a couple things from it because you're likely not to hear them anyplace else. Crowley wrote in a essay called In Eleusis, or just Eleusis, "We are the poets. We are the children of wood and stream, of mist and mountain, of sun and wind. We are the Greeks. And to us the rites of Eleusis should open the doors of heaven, and we shall enter in and see God face to face. Under the stars I will go forth, my brothers, and drink of that lustral dew. I will return, my brothers, when I have seen God face to face, and read within those eternal eyes the secret that shall make you free. Then I will choose you and test you and instruct you in the mysteries of Eleusis. O ye brave hearts and cool eyes and trembling lips, I will put a live coal on your lips, and flowers upon your eyes, and a sword in your hands, and ye shall see God face to face. Thus shall we give back its youth to the world. For like tongues of triple flame we shall look upon the great deep. Hail unto the lords of the groves of Eleusis." Okay, now to give you a nice background information and introduction, Geraldine at Atlantis convinced Hymenaeus Beta, the Frater Superior of the OTO, to write the foreword to this little introduction that was handed out to everyone who attended the rites. And it's a great background. "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Aleister Crowley's Rites of Eleusis were first staged at Caxton Hall 80 years ago, in October and November of 1910. They met with a great deal of publicity and mixed reviews, since nothing quite like them had been seen on the London stage. They were for a time thoroughly avant-garde, and hence thoroughly misunderstood. The rites grew out of Crowley's earlier experiments with what might be termed as improvisatory multimedia ritual performances. He describes their genesis. Quote, "The ceremonies developed from very rude beginnings. The first one was in this wise. I happened to have a few friends in my room in the evening. Among them, the celebrated Australian violinist Miss Leila Waddell. It struck me that we might pass the time by a sort of artistic dialogue. I read a piece of poetry from one of the great classics, and she replied with a piece of music suggested by my reading. I retorted with another poem, and the evening developed into a regular controversy. The others were intensely interested in this strange conflict, and in the silence of the room, spiritual enthusiasm took hold of us, so acutely that we were all intensely uplifted, to the point in some cases of actual ecstasy, an intoxication of the same kind as that experienced by an assistant in the celebration of the Mass or the performance of Parsifal, but stronger because of its naturalness and primitiveness. It was subsequently decided to try and tune everybody up to some definite, prearranged emotion. And we strung together a rough ceremony in honor of Artemis, the prototype, the pilot for the Rites of Eleusis was the rite of Artemis, where they experimented with this formula. This was so successful that it even impressed persons who had always been complete skeptics and scoffers, because they did it in public. Okay, they invited the press and everything else to that rite of Artemis. Having been of such help in private, we endeavored to produce the effects in public with greater elaboration." Unquote. All that was Crowley, except for my digressions. Crowley conducted other experiments during this period, including an evocation of Bartzabal, the spirit of Mars, in which the desired exaltation was achieved by monotonous tom-tom drumming, and improvisatory violin music, evocative poetry, and dance. The idea that religious ceremonial has an aesthetic basis is certainly not original to Crowley, but its liberation from the literal grimoire and fossilized liturgy very likely was, at least in our culture. Crowley's goal was nothing less than a religious technology, what he termed magic, that could reliably and predictably create desired spiritual effects through the willed invocation and the proper design of what we now term, quote, set and setting. I'll digress for a second here. Set and setting were used by Dr. Timothy Leary and Dr. Albert in their suggested technique of very, very willful and kind of a scientific approach to taking LSD. You have your setting, and a guide. But I digress. This is back to Hymenaeus Alpha, or Beta. One of his earliest published magical theses, The Initiated Interpretation of Ceremonial Magic, asserted that precise spiritual effects were obtainable by an arrangement of the sensory impressions. In other words, sight, smell, sound, touch, taste, and hearing, according to the proper magical attributes. In this, he anticipated or paralleled the work of Scriabin and Britain. Artaud paralleled the Artaud and a host of later aesthetic theorists. Now, excuse my pronunciation for all those guys. Scriabin, Breton, B-R-E-T-O-N, and R-A-R-T-A-U-D, Artaud. And I confess, I don't, I'm sure many of you will tell me how important these theorists were. Anyway, experimental theater works such as The Living Theater's Paradise Now of 1970 bear a strikingly close resemblance to the original Rites of Eleusis, and the rites are occasionally cited in academic theater curricula in the United States. Crowley came to consider spontaneity and improvisation as an ideal inducement of ecstasy, and a state of consciousness he considered religious by definition. This is implicit in other cultures with improvisatory spiritual musical traditions, such as Drupad in India, or Voodoo drumming and singing in Haiti. Beat, poetry, and trance music are just a few modern manifestations of these influences in the West. One reason for Crowley's wholesale rejection of Christianity was its lack of spontaneity, its lifeless rigidity, which he attributed to its deeply rooted sense of sexual guilt and shame. He felt that a truly living religion would be based on ecstasy, joy, having fun, and that by such means average people with no special training might experience the numinous directly, rather than believing in second or third hand glimmers doled out by a dubious priestcraft. Crowley knew that ecstasy might be induced by a Dionysian admixture of sex, drugs, music, dance, and poetry. A fact amply borne out by the decades of popular culture. His humorous remarks on the excitatory effect of the tom-tom on the average English women are arguably the birth words of Beatlemania. But he always insisted that the Dionysian impulse be balanced by its Apollonian correlate, as expressed in the Book of the Law. Quote, "Let the rituals be rightly performed with joy and beauty, and if thou do aught joyous, let there be subtlety therein." He taught that definite spiritual effects should be sought by the means of ecstasy, and made the techniques for composing or synthesizing these spiritual influences widely available, both in his published writings and in his teaching orders, such as the OTO. After 70 years of neglect, the performance of the Rites of Eleusis have been revised 1980 by the late Chandria, Soror Chandria in California, and are now the annual event for OTO groups around the world, from Australia to Canada to Yugoslavia. While rarely performed with the skills of a theater professionals, we almost invariably achieve the ecstasy intended by their author, believing that this, and not the creation of great theater, is their true purpose. Their revival at Conway Hall on this 80th anniversary of their first performance is, in itself, an auspicious event. That so, many diverse esoteric groups and traditions have come together to make it a reality that is doubly auspicious, and a tribute to Geraldine Beskin. Her ecumenical theater may mark the beginning of a durable British tradition. Love is the law, love under will. Hymenaeus Beta, 10th degree Frater Superior, OTO. He wrote this on September 23rd, back in 1990, just prior to the mounting of the entire Rites of Eleusis series at Conway Hall in London. Anyway, so tonight that's what we're going to talk about Saturn. It's quite a thing. Okay, these are sort of combination the scripts for the officers, which there's only like a 6 or 7 officers, and most of them don't have many lines. But anyway, I'll give you a report tomorrow, and I don't know whether we're going to do at Monday Night Magic class. I don't know if we're going to go through, read through all of them in the next few weeks, but we'll have to see. And if so, on Mondays, I'll give you another report on that. Okay, until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.